Hi everyone, welcome to Module 1. It's nice to see all of you. Small little caveat, I'm working from home with an office mate that is my lively miniature Australian Shepherd, and it's impossible to keep her from interacting with her environment, so we're going to do our best, but if you hear her making some noise, we'll just kind of count it as her encouragement for us going through the course. I want to welcome you to this module. Module 1 is all about understanding the value of scholarly inquiry. It might be that you think that scholarly inquiry is boring. Some teachers just tell me, gosh, I'm not about those articles. I'm not about the research. Just put me in the classroom and let me teach. And I'm here to tell you that the innovations that happen in the classroom and the innovations that you're in the middle of, or the innovations that your team or your principal or your district are asking you to try, are the product of inquiry that has happened in the classroom and that has happened in the field. That the best practices that you see, that you're asked to try, that come up to work with students, comes from the scholarship around inquiry, ideas for interventions in behavior and interventions in instructional techniques. Formative assessment, the whole nature of formative assessment came from a massive meta-analysis of studies that were happening all over the United States and in the world. So there's a really close link between what you notice in the classroom as strategies for instruction and assessment and pedagogy techniques, behavior techniques, interventions of all kinds with students, and scholarship. That's where it starts. So I want to empower you to feel as if you can use the information from that scholarship to answer the questions that you have in the classroom. We all walk around with wonderings and with complaints sometimes, and we end up in the hall talking with other people about things we don't understand, and why is this way, and how does the kid do this, and this is driving me crazy. And those kinds of inquiries are the seed, the little kernel for the innovation, and the evolution of your wondering is powerful. This course is about empowering you so that you can learn how to take the scholarship and use it in your own classroom based on the interest that you have. That's where this module is going to start. So a couple of things, if you go to the website and you pull up the first page, this video introduction is on the right hand side, and on the left hand side are the assignments and the activities for this module. And I want to tell you just a couple of things about them to help you move through the trajectory of this module. You're going to notice, first of all, some readings from our text, and I have it here so I can kind of show it to you. This is the most recent editions. The page numbers and the chapter numbers align to this. If you have an older one, be creative. Let me know. I don't think that most of the content is that different, and we're not going to stress about it in these strange days when we can't really get materials quickly. So if you don't have this text and you have another one, try to make a match with the titles of the chapters. If it seems too confusing, let me know, because I do have both copies here at my home and I can sort that out. So you will notice some readings from this text, and you'll also notice that there are some guiding questions. The guiding questions should guide you and let you know what I want you to dig up. Of course, follow with your own nose, but please take a look at what the guiding questions are asking you, because when we meet for optional Zoom, keep in mind that it's optional. I know that time doesn't work for everyone, and we can find some other times if you still want to have conversation. But we'll chat about some of those things and some of those guiding questions in the Zoom. So let those direct your reading. After that, you'll be asked in this module to think about your own personal inquiry, and there's a link to a PowerPoint process that will take you through. It will ask you to browse through a couple additional short articles. It will ask you to interact with a few short videos, and that's to help you form your ideas, not only for the formative assessment, because once you complete that personal inquiry PowerPoint, it might be a good idea to look at the formative assessment, because they're linked, one is intended to lead you to the other. But the personal inquiry is there so that you can start coming up with the idea that you want to pursue as we work through this course. Two things will happen in parallel play. There'll be some content, and you'll be interacting with the content around educational research, but you'll also be practicing those processes by digging into a topic of your own interest. And that's what the personal inquiry PowerPoint is intended for. At the end of that personal inquiry PowerPoint, there's a Flipgrid code that asks you to share your ideas. What is your inquiry? What are some questions that you're having about problems of practice? That's going to be, again, that kernel, that seed that you're going to have an opportunity to dig really deep into as we're learning about research methods and how to read those articles in this course. The last thing in the module is for you to read or view. You have an option there so that you can kind of, man, I'm sick of reading, I want somebody to just talk to me for a minute. You can read the article or you can watch the video on parts of a research article. It's important when we start digging into the scholarship in this course that you feel comfortable. Letters and numbers in combination, honestly, are harder for me. I am a statistician if I need to be, but if I don't need to be, I would just rather someone explain it to me in a narrative. And so you need to understand that the parts of a research article have both of those features. They have the tables with the numbers and the graphs and the statistics, but they also have a narrative explanation. And once you understand the parts of a research article, you'll know how to navigate around it for the rest of this course. Here's a little tip that helps me. When I'm reading scholarship, when I'm reading an article, I look at the title, and the very next thing I do is read the abstract. However, sometimes the abstract is wordy because it's so condensed in such a dense summary that I have to read the introduction to unpack the abstract. So this is the order that I read literature, and you're welcome to try it. This is just a Serena thing. I like to read the abstract, and then I like to skim and scan through the introduction all the way to the bottom of the introduction. The bottom of the introduction often will summarize where the rest of the study is going. It will also often house the hypothesis for the study if it was a quantitative study, or it will present the research questions in a qualitative study. It will give you direction. So if you look at the abstract and then kind of skim and scan through the introduction or some of the review of the literature, the end of that is like, that's the money card. That's where this author is going. That's where the study is going. After I read that, I skip it. The middle sections. I skip the methods and the participants. I skip all the way through that, and I find the findings at the end. Generally, the findings, it might be called sometimes implications, but usually the findings are the summary of what was discovered. Then I go back and look at the methods and the participants and all of the details of how the study was conducted. And then I flip back to the findings and then finally the conclusion. When you're looking at scholarship around your own topic, you might match and inform your thinking based on the findings that someone else has. The methodology, the participants may or may not be significant. You might be able to decide that later. But it helps me to look at the bookends and then look at the middle. You do it the way you need to do it. Please remember to skim and scan quite a bit. But that's just a little tip for completing the parts of a research article so that you're comfortable as we start reading through in a really dense way in Module 2. At the end of all of the directions is the first formative assignment, which asks you to think about a problem of practice. It pulls everything that you've thought about through the readings and the viewing and the PowerPoint, and you're going to be brainstorming some of your own problems of practice. That formative assessment at the bottom really asks you to think about, what do I think of inquiry? What kind of inquiries do I have? And you'll be interacting not with others in that inquiry, but with yourself. You're going to think about making a statement about what you believe, and then doing some thinking and wondering, and then coming back and making some adjustments. My recommendation for this module and every other module is to read the formative assessment first. Read all the way through all of the activities and assignments without doing them. Read straight through so that you know where it's going, because it's designed as a scaffold. Read the directions of the formative assessment. Pop into some of the hyperlinks and see what it's asking you, and then go back and begin the assignments and the activities, because they're all intended to lead you to be able to be successful for an outcome that aligns to the target in the formative assessment. It'll make more sense to you that way. You'll be able to engage in the content in a deeper, richer way that ties to your own learning if you read all the way through all of the activities and assignments, including that formative assessment that's linked at the bottom, and then cycle back to the beginning and begin the work there. It may also be that questions will come up that you can ask, and you can have them clarified but before you dig into it. A reminder that although you can work at your own pace as you move through the modules, I have put myself on a schedule for reading and replying and responding in this course and in another course that I'm teaching this summer. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, to text, to message me, to email, to ask for a Zoom. I am completely at your service during the remainder of this course. Another reminder, Module 2 is dense. We're going to dig into quantitative statistics in Module 2, and as we work through the middle modules, there is a lot of reading and a lot of thinking and a lot of writing. So I might recommend, since Module 1 is probably the lightest of all of the modules, that if you find you're finishing early, pop into Module 2, read the assignments and the activities, read the formative assessment, the summative assessment, get a feel for the big picture, and go ahead and start digging into your own inquiry and starting to dig into some of the articles that you want to read. There's a lot of reading and thinking and summarizing and synthesizing, and I think that Module 1 you can condense probably into 3 or 4 days, whereas Module 2, if you get a little bit of a head start, I think you'll find that you have space between the input and the reflection and then the output that will guide you to the target. It's wonderful to be here with you, and we'll see you soon.